Hello again. So what I have here is in the same room, in my project room, I have both the Anycubic 4K mono photon mono X resin 3D resin printer, and on the right I have the Anycubic wash and cure. Both of these machines, if you're not aware, if you're uninitiated, are for making 3D models. So I would make, 3D prints of models that I would have on my computer. So I've been into Blender for a few years now, and I can turn my 3D models that are just in the computer into actual objects in real life. The way this works, in this machine here, there's a tub that you can see, this black thing. You pour resin into that. This platform, this metallic thing, it comes down and it just sits against this tub. The bottom of the tub is a plastic. It's a plastic membrane. Light can pass through it. It's transparent. Under this, in this case, hidden under a glass, is an LCD screen, and under that is a light configuration. So what happens is this platform comes down, sits in the resin. It's right up against the plastic, but between the platform and the plastic would be some resin. The light that comes through the LCD screen hardens the resin. The LCD screen makes a pattern. The light goes through wherever there are holes in that pattern, and that's where a thin layer every time this process loops. It keeps working until the same way until the entire model is created in here. Okay, so it creates a thin layer, and then the platform lifts and comes back down into the resin, and then more plastic or more resin is hardened and added to your model until the whole thing is built. Okay, now, like I said before, in here I have a 4K LCD making that pattern, and not to be confused with the LCD touchscreen right here. Okay, so basically you have two LCD screens, but the one that works to create a pattern that the light has to go through, hardening the resin, that is 4K. That's the resolution. And what I'm planning to do, and I'm kind of hopeful that this is going to work, but I'm not 100% certain. I'm planning to change the 4K LCD for a 6K LCD. I don't know if this is compatible with this build here, but here it is. And from what I understand, the 4K motherboard is not compatible with the 6K LCD. And so I don't remember which one. Okay, so this one would be the 4K, I believe. I bought an extra one in case something happens. So this would be the 4K motherboard or logic board. And this other one here, because it was $10, I couldn't believe how inexpensive it was on, I believe it was Amazon. Big reduction in price. This is the 6K. I had to buy this from China, and it was like $90. Alright, so you can see that there are differences if I put them side by side. Right? sorry, the camera's wobbling a little bit. All right. So that's my plan. I don't know if I should try the machines before attempting any of this to ensure that they work at all. I believe they do, and I've upgraded the firmware for the 3D resin printer. So that's going to be something I'm going to have to check. As for accessories, let's see, where did I put the flex plate? Okay. As for accessories, I bought a flex plate, and what this is for is to attach to the platform here that comes down. There's it's a little sandwich here. You have metal on top, and you have a magnet on this side. The magnet is meant to be glued to the platform, and the way this functions is you stick it there, and so the magnets will remain on the platform, but the metal here, the thin metal, can be peeled off. And the advantage to this over using the machine without a flex plate is that when you want to remove your models, which are going to be stuck to this plate here, oh, that's my tummy. Well, excuse me for that. When you want to remove your not models but figures or whatever prints, you would flex the plate enough that they would just pop right off. So you wouldn't have to use a scraper and damage the platform here. Now, because this has something like 2.6 millimeter thickness, when this comes down, you don't want it to go with this extra thickness and put too much pressure onto the membrane of this little tub that you have that's going to be full of resin. So what has to be done is back here. Let me see if I can get a shot of it. Okay. Back here, you see where it's right in the center of the screen. There is this, it looks like a hook, and it's black. That comes down, and it gets stopped somewhere in the mechanism back here. So what you need to do is you add little rubber washers that are about 2.6 millimeters in thickness to where the screws are. So you remove this hook by the screws, and then where the screws are, you simply add a little thickness to lower that hook a little bit permanently, and that way it makes up for the thickness of this flex plate. I hope that makes sense. Okay. Now, other than a flex plate, I also thought it was a good idea, and it came as a recommendation from other YouTubers. I mean, I'm not a YouTuber, but from people on YouTube anyway, who probably do a lot of 3D printing. They recommend getting little cafeteria trays. I bought these at Hart, the Hart store, H-A-R-T. The problem with these trays, though, is that underneath they're unfinished. So there's like a hard piece of plastic, very jagged, that was sticking out, and I had to sand it down. They were very smart in covering it up with a little tag, so it wasn't noticeable at first, but it was sharp enough that it could cut my skin. So I had to take care of that for both of these trays. So be mindful of that. Check your trays. It wasn't very expensive, about $5 a piece. So these towels I bought at Canadian Tire. Another recommendation by someone on YouTube. So these are shop towels. And I haven't opened this yet, but I believe I've used it before, maybe in a garage or something, in a business. And I think they should be pretty good. They should be better than regular paper towels. I don't think they have any like lint or anything that'll come off. So that could be very useful in many different applications. I also bought this little funnel. I'll say that again in case the sound of the plastic was too noisy. I bought this funnel. And so what this is used for is with your bottles of resin, when you want to recuperate the resin that you have that's left over in your tub that hasn't been hardened, you simply put this into your little your bottle of resin, and you pour the resin in. So because it's metal, I imagine it'll be easier to clean. But this is something you may want to buy if you get into printing with resin, as I will do. Now, I don't know when I'm going to start all this. I've been thinking about it for a while now, but it's a big leap. I want to get into electronics. I want to get into illustration again. I want to continue with my 3D modeling. I'd like to learn to play music. I still cut my own hair. I have to get into working out again. I'm still trying to learn to program and make a video game. So I've got a lot in mind, and I have a beautiful sewing machine that I need to set up as well and start using that. I created a cover for the foot pedal for the sewing machine. It's a nice Janome Professional one. I created a protection for it so it wouldn't get damaged whenever it's in use. But while I was doing that, I realized that there was a lot I didn't know about the functionality of the sewing machine, and it became very difficult to work on something like rubber, which is what I was using to create the protection for the foot pedal. You may want to look at my older videos. Among them is a video about that process, or actually no, I didn't actually show the process. I just showed the final product, and I basically just use tire inner tubes off a bicycle. I cut them, and I sewed them together. They were sewn together, and they make a very nice case. It lacks a little structure, so I added some cardboard and foam inside, and that way it holds very well and doesn't just kind of slide all over the place. And also the foot pedal doesn't slide that way on a hardwood floor. So I can recommend that. I know this is not the same has nothing to do with 3D printing, but anyway. All right, so it gives you an idea of what I've been up to. I have computers that I've built and the iMac that I upgraded and everything that I have to set up here with the music instruments and all that. And I really do want to get serious about making the video game, but I need to find a way to make some money. I really don't know how to do business with people because trusting it's not something I do easily. A lot of very selfish people out there who don't believe in maintaining relationships. They just want a quick score. And anyway, so which is why I've been so independent and avoiding people as much as possible so that I can focus on my skills and whatever projects I have in mind. So, but I am considering making, let's say, Dungeons and Dragons type figures and seeing if they can be sold at a local hobby shop. I know there's some enthusiasts there of Dungeons and Dragons that actually play the games, and my nephew actually likes Dungeons and Dragons quite a bit. So it may be lucrative, it may be a smart move, and I have the means to do all that. But the first step is doing it at all, accepting that I'm probably going to fail at the beginning, and trying to avoid also making a terrible mess. So that's why I have the plastic covering, that's why I have the trays, it's why I have all this set up so that I can avoid having some disaster happen. But it's a big step to take, and with the number of things I have in mind, it's a bit overwhelming at this point. So I mean, if you've seen any of my other videos, you see that I'm apt to being a very creative person. I've made tons of cookies for Christmas, caramel corn, and I take care of things on my own, like when I work out or cut my own hair or build things or rebuild things. So I'm not inept. I'm not useless, and I do a lot of things for myself. But everything is a challenge because I don't exactly have someone to talk to about this stuff. I don't have people who share interests with me and want to develop something. So, anyway, we'll see what I'm able to do between the phone repair and 3D printing and anything else that could make money or help me advance.